What's going on, guys? I want to welcome you back. Brand new season here in November, and it looks like absolute fire. All about Norse mythology, and it kicks off with Surtur as the season pass card. This guy looks ridiculous for a 3-cost card. Alex and I, as always, going to break down our synergy and early thoughts on the card, but also rank all the cards this season with Frigga, Fenris Wolf. We have Malekith, a ton of bangers coming out, and Alex and I will give our initial impressions and debate what we like, what we don't like, and what to save up for with the spotlights and more. We're going to talk about that all today and more on this episode of the Snapchat. And as always, on this fine November Monday, I'm joined by Alex Coccia. Hello, my friend. How we doing? Brand new season, brand new episode. Excited as we are Norse theme here today, man. Got some fun cards to talk about. But before we talk about cards, I have to ask you, we have not talked about this yet. Is daylight saving time? Do you guys do daylight saving time or whatever? Daylight savings time over in Canada? Because it is, I think it is the worst thing ever invented.
Yeah, we do it here. It's not by choice. I think we just do it because you guys do it.
It's just like, they're doing it too. Why not just throw? Does it get dark at like in here in San Diego? Dude, the sunset at like 4:30. Like it's dark. And it's 5 o'clock right now, and it's dark. It sucks. I hate it.
Yeah, I don't really fully understand the purpose of it. I'm sure someone in the comments will be able to explain it. Like, I know there is a reason why we do it, but it's like, it seems kind of random to me. Like, I don't know if I like it. I'm kind of like really ho-hum about it.
I'm the guy that's not qualified to talk about it, but this is what I think it is for. I think back in the day it was something to do with farmers and their crops. I think, and that might be way off. I think someone told me that one time in my life. All I know is in California, we voted no. Like, we voted to get rid of it. And then they were like, no, we're going to keep it. And now you wake up, it's dark. You go home, it's dark. If you guys, I remember when I worked at hotels, like, I would go to work dark, and I would come home dark. And I'm like, well, this sucks. And what I'm going to do with the kid, for the rest of the, we do a lot of stuff outside. So, especially in San Diego, it's sad. I hate it.
It's so funny to hear you complain about that being from California. Dude, everything that you're experiencing is so much worse in like Canada, especially as you get northern. Like, it's way colder, it's way darker earlier. There's actually less sun time. Like, you guys get more sun time than we do. So everything that you're upset about, it's actually way worse where I am.
Okay, so I shouldn't complain. Like, if I'm ever mad at daylight saving time, I should just be like, you know what, Alex has it worse.
I was actually thinking about this as well, and this is totally random, but like, you guys don't even have to worry about like the type of tires you put on your car.
Never.
You can just put on summer tires, right? Like, we got to worry about winter tires or all weather tires. We have to like consider that it can be 20 degrees one day, then the next day could be -4, snowing with like ice all over the roads. You guys just don't care, man.
No.
You guys just like, bro, we don't even have air conditioners. We just drive our cars with like wooden blocks. It doesn't matter.
Bro, if it rains even like a little bit, first of all, people are like, oh my God, this is amazing. Second of all, people just don't know how to drive. I'm talking like a light sprinkle, and people are like, I've lost the ability to control my automobile. People don't know what to do when it's not sunny.
I heard it snowed down south at some point and it shut down like 3 states.
Yeah, Texas like died, I think, whenever they got like a little cold there, because the infrastructures, man, like, if it floods here, like if it rains here, we're done. It's over. We've got even though we're by the ocean. Also, on that note, I had to bring up, got a lot of comments, Alex. We got a lot of comments last Snapchat, and first of all, we did our job right. Anytime you make a tier list, if you piss people off, you did it right, so thank you guys for confirming that. Apparently, we both have the worst candy taste of all time, and I'm not surprised that people thought that. People are very passionate about their candy. There's a couple bad takes, but the unity of our community came together, and apparently 100 grand, which even my wife got on this, the 100 grand bar, is apparently God's gift to mankind. Like, I have never had so much hate in my life about anything outside this candy bar. People love their 100 grand. So I went out and I got one. And I gotta be honest, they're right, dude. It slaps. It's a good candy bar. I owe an apology, and I don't think I can make it up to you guys. But I do know, I feel like we ranked that one a little later, right? Like, we kind of quickly went through 100 grand.
Yeah, it was definitely like that mid territory of like all these random ones like Babe Ruth and all the other ones. Like, I had no idea. Like, I've never even had these before. Like, I don't think 100 grand exists in Canada. I've certainly never seen it before.
Listen, I'm glad you brought up Babe Ruth, because, guys, it's called Baby Ruth, and I was today's years old when I found that out. I don't think I knew that was not a Babe Ruth bar. my whole life. I don't think I've ever paid attention to that. I definitely haven't seen them or have had them. And I saw that and I was like, damn, I'm embarrassed, but also I don't care because I just didn't know. So the more you know, it's not after the baseball player, and as you call him, some pitcher. People got mad at that as well. The comments was gold, bro, this time around. I loved it. We're going to have to do more opinion tier lists on random stuff because people loved it, man. People loved the segment. They loved how long it is. People love the random segments as we have a brand new season to talk about. We're rambling now. And so we probably should get to that. We probably should get to the new stuff. Let us know what the next tier list we should do, listeners and people. But yeah, man, fun, crazy video came out for the new season. A metal song brought me to my youth over there, and Ben Broad and gang did a good job. And we got a cool season, man. Got a cool season, a lot of cards that are going to kind of be tough to nail. I feel like it's going to be like a couple seasons ago where it's going to be tough to really nail down how good they're going to be. We know what we're talking about over here. Alex, what are we talking about on your side of the Snapchat?
Cozy, on my side of the Snapchat, we're going to hold ourselves accountable for our October rankings. We're going to go through each of the cards, their win rates, their cube rates, how well they're doing in the meta, and take a look at what we gave them going into their release weeks. We're also going to be discussing the best Series 5 cards in Marvel Snap, doing a ranked list of those. That's going to be a ton of fun. And then, as always, our Snapchat mailbag.
Well, buddy, we start out with the Season Pass card, and its name is Surtur. If you don't know, it is a 3-cost, 5-power card. After you play a card with 10 or more power, this gains +3 power. And I kind of thought Gorr was going to be the Season Pass card. No, it is this beautiful fire apocalypse demon. And my God, are they just throwing us a 3/5 with an incredible ability to boot, Alex? This is one way to kick off a season, in my way, the right way. And it's kind of cool. We have big power stuff and then stuff to handle that later on as the releases go. So we got a lot to break down. We're going to talk about the spotlight at the end. So let's go to break down the new Season Pass card. Buddy, what are you thinking about Surtur?
Okay, so in terms of star rating, I think I'm going to go 5 here. Simple reason why is because in Marvel Snap's entire history, gaining +3 power has never been completely, it's always been completely earth-shattering. Every single card that has given +3 power, Elsa Bloodstone, Silver Surfer, right? Dina, right? They've all gotten nerfed.
Yep.
Every single one of them, because it's simply too damn much. This card is a 3/5, which we refer to as a premium stat line. That gets to a 3/8 on a single high-powered card you play, a card that's helping you win the game anyways.
Yep.
Dude, what is this?
Yeah, I think we used to do like 1 5-star per season, and this one I was like, nope, because, well, maybe no, we don't want to spoil anything. I got a 5-star here too. The only knock I have against it is it's kind of narrow in application. Like, there's not a ton of different decks you can play it in, but that doesn't matter because we know that big stuff equals good decks, and that's going to obviously be the case here, right? We do have a lot of cards that can, get this guy going and getting his power up. But yeah, dude, even if you do nothing else, he's a 3/5, right? Like, nothing else happens, he's a 3/5. Now, it is notable after you play a card, so you have to play the card. It's not like a Devil Dinosaur is not going to count, correct? It's got to be, after you play a card with 10, so it's got to have the 10 power in your hand being played, which we'll get to that. And so there's not as many cards as you think, but there are a good amount that do synergize. And clearly the one, it's so crazy to look back how this little caterpillar went to a cocoon and then blossomed to the butterfly that is Scar. I think we've got to start there, right? Because you talk about synergy. We talk about a card that when it came out was not so good. And now we've landed on Scar, who's a 6/11, costs 2 less for each 10 power card. Is there a deck that you play with Surtur that is not with Scar?
No, I don't think so. Like, it's such a natural inclusion, and there's a good chance the Scar could potentially even come out at 2 cost, free, whatever, right? Like, it's kind of crazy. And I think I had this thought, and I don't want to like completely derail the conversation, but like, is Scar the absolute beneficiary of power creep in Marvel Snap?
Yeah.
Like, that's what he gets? He just gets every power creep card. It's just like, hey, bring them on. Every time you hit 10, baby, that's for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Scar, the synergy is incredible. And well, Surtur, I think, needs to, like, one of the key limitations of him is that he'll have to be on the field of play. He's not like an ongoing where, Morbius is kind of getting pumped up in the hand. He's got to be a down on 3. So you want to be a little draw dependent on that. But like, yeah, Scar is going to benefit because if you're playing this card, you're going to be playing things that have 10 power, the crossbones and everything else we're going to talk about, right? Like everything with 10 power, you're going to be playing. And so Scar's value is just, well, not the value, the cost is just going to disintegrate, and its value is going to go through the roof. And it's just a lot of power, man, because even like if you don't happen to play, you know, on perfect curve or whatever, there's a good chance if Scar's a 2-costed card and you're holding like an Atuma or whatever, like there's a lot of 4 costs that reach into that 10 power range. You can play Scar and one of those cards. Like, it's kind of stupid, man.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought this up. Like, so the weak point of this card, per se, is that if you play it on turn 6, it's not going to work, right? But, you know, your finishers are typically the ones that are going to come out. And so you're looking at most games, I would say, if this is in your deck, most games, he's 3-8 bare minimum, 3-11 outside of that, which is so crazy of a stat line. 1 play, 1 activate, immediately you're going to get this guy to gladiator type of power, which is obviously silly, crazy, just ridiculousness. And yeah, we do have a fair amount of these that like to synergize together. Typhoid Mare just got buffed, and we had a deck kind of that had Scar going with all those as well. And so we're going to talk about those, as we just said, here in a moment. But even if you don't get anything going on, he's a 3-5, which I will give the argument. Black Swan 3-5, we didn't like that. So, you know, it's not that you can just play that, but the nature of the decks that this will be played in is just going to work. And I gave it 5 because of that. I think, again, it's very narrow in application. And there's not going to be, I don't love when season pass cards, like I kind of prefer if Gorr was it, because way more, you know, flexible decks there. I don't like when it kind of pigeonholes you somewhere. Power creep is real here, guys. I mean, what I don't want to see so desperately is that 3 months down the line, 2 months down the line, they adjust this thing to +2 power, and then they sold their season pass. We've seen the Song of Dance. I don't want to see that again. It's just, why? You know, let's not do it. But yeah, man, it's going to be, if Shang-Chi took a vacation this summer, a little summer vacation, he's coming back.
And the crazy thing about this card specifically that like makes me completely think it's insane is that, let's say you play Surtur on 3. On 4, you play Typhoid Mary. On 5, you play Arrow. That card is now going to be over 10 power. Yep. Like himself, which activates Scar. So he becomes an activator for Scar in and of itself, and Scar becomes free. If you play them on curve, Scar becomes a 0-costed card. That, to me, is like, bruh. The fact that it activates Scar, and because it starts at a 3-5, even if it gets Shadow Kinged, it doesn't, like, Thena goes all the way down to 0.
Yeah.
This is still, like, just 3-5. Like, you can take a little bit off the top, but you can't bring it to the floor. You know what I mean? Like, it feels so low risk. And the way you win games of Marvel Snap is by having more power in 2 locations than your opponent, and you're basically being incentivized to play lots of power.
Lots of power. And not to mention She-Hulk, right? Like She-Hulk and Scar together, we've seen decks there, but it's like, realistically, there's a turn where you've got enough big cards out there and you're able to then all of a sudden just slam down. Surtur's going to go up. You know, Scar, She-Hulk comes out together. There's only so many Shang-Chis to go around, Alex. There's only so much you can do to prevent that. Shadow King's not going to do it, even though that floor is there. So we have things that will eventually be able to counter this a little bit later in the season. But right off the bat, man, it's gonna be crazy. I mean, Shang-Chi is a must tech card this month, an absolute must. That's how most people are gonna win their games. And if you don't draw your Shang-Chi, it's gonna look pretty bad. It's gonna look pretty bad, my friend. But on that note, right? I think Shuri is a very interesting deck. The old Sauron kind of Shuri builds with Typhoid even now. That just kind of works with this. You have enough of these big power cards. Again, you're not trying to get your Surtur to, you know, 15 or whatever, 14 power. A couple of bump ups in power, it's fine, and it's kind of naturally going on curve. He's a 3, works into the Shuri, and then you can at least activate him maybe twice.
Yeah, those Sauron like 0 decks probably could see play with Surtur as well. Like definitely, I 100% see it, because like they prioritize these high power plays, and like Red Skull in and of itself, and like you don't even need to hit the Shuri, right? Typhoid Mary procs it. And if you don't draw into the Sauron, playing Surtur on turn 3, of course. We did see those decks traditionally used to run a you would play Shuri, skip turn 5, and then She-Hulk Taskmaster. But because of the change to Taskmaster, you can't do that combination anymore, because Taskmaster costs 6, and on turn 5 you only fill 5 energy. So the She-Hulk still costs 1. But those decks, I think, are perfectly situated to take advantage of wanting to just put up like tremendous power and let Surtur just kind of run up in power.
Yeah, and what's cool is like, man, you could do like even like the kind of old school Magic decks, right? You throw Magic down, and then you can do like, I mean, back in the double up She-Hulk slams with Infinite, like you're gonna be able to pull off some really unique combos here. Like it's gonna be big power equal big win, right? But there are gonna be ways to make that a little bit different. For me, outside of just, I mean, obviously we can go through some of these big cards here, but outside of these big cards, man, there's two in particular that I think are going to be, you know, in almost all these decks. It's going to be Armor and Cosmo as that complement card. Now, obviously, if the deck is like the Sauron one, it's going to have a specific build to it. But I think Armor is going to be one of the most natural cards to have in here at 2, because why not, right? You can protect your lane, even if you get, you know, the Fire Demon late. You could play Armor and him on 5 together, power him up on 6. I think Armor is the most natural inclusion here.
Yeah, because you're going to see people trying to like literally Grandmaster Shang-Chi's, right? Like it's going to be stupid. And we even have cards coming out that we'll talk about later that are going to be able to like resurrect destroyed powerful cards.
Yeah.
And like, so the prevalence of Shang-Chi, if you hate Shang-Chi now, just like
buckle up.
Get ready. Get ready. Yeah, buckle up because it is going to be stupid this month. Shang-Chi is going to run like a 50% play rate. And I actually had this thought, like, I wonder if Shang-Chi gets changed. Like, I wonder if they bring him down to like a 4-1 or something, because he could be a potential target for a nerf. If they want this like big goofball 10 power meta to be a thing, they're probably going to want to discourage Shang-Chi play. It would not surprise me.
I think they want to encourage it though, almost, because it's like he's been out for a while. It's the way to limit this a bit. And so it's kind of that defense offense approach, if you will, like the old combat triangle, the old fire, water, leaf type, you know, in Pokemon. That's probably the case there. But I do know that it's like, I was looking at just how many 10s we have, right? It's like we have a Tuma, we have Black Hat, you know, I can see a lot of Black Hat, but Crossbones, Coal Obsidian, Typhoid Mary, all of these are playable. My lady, my girl Arrow, who's also 10, but also doing something, which is super unique. And then you get to a lot of the 6 costs. There's a good amount out there that you could just play naturally in a lot of decks.
Yeah, and I mean, Coal Obsidian's a great example of one that has like such a relatively easy thing to like deal with, right? Like it's so straightforward. And so like, yeah, Coal Obsidian's an easy call there. And we've always joked about, even if they Shang-Chi a Coal Obsidian, it's like, okay, like he kind of did his job then. Like, you know what I mean? Like it took Shang-Chi out of the match. But like there's so much to say to like, okay, you're gaining +3 power, starting at a 3/8, you're activating Scar, and like literally it's you're just putting more power on the board. The only concern I have, and you brought up Sebastian Shaw before, this is a concern I have. Sebastian Shaw on paper looked incredible, but because he only fit into like one archetype, and I would make the argument that Surtur is going to go directly into those Scar archetypes, and it's not anywhere else, does it become a trap? Like, is Surtur like a trap the same way that Sebastian Shaw kind of was?
I think he's power boosted cards are just like across the board worse, right? We've seen that. But you are correct, and that's why I started out with it. I gave him a 5 because of like him being a 3/5. That's easy to get to a 3/8, right? But he's super narrow. Like, there's just not a lot of places that you're going to be able to play him. And so it's like, okay, would we give Shaw a 5? Well, no, it's like if you like Surfer is what we say, but he is a 5 in Surfer decks, right? So it's like, I'm going to be curious what we can do outside of just the same old, you know, we're going to see a lot of Scar. If you drew Scar and you drew him, then you win. If I didn't, I lose. If I got Shang-Chi, I don't want to see that meta. That's going to suck. I hope we get some a little bit different there. But yeah, that would be what holds them back a bit.
No, there's no question. And I have a kind of a pitch for you here. What about Zabu? In my early designs, I was trying to figure out like if Zabu had a place here, because on turn 6 you can technically play 2 of the cards that might want to be played alongside him. But Zabu would be competing with that 3 slot, because Surtur you want to have down on 3. You discount a 4-drop to 3 cost. You're not playing it on 3 anyway. But I still think that there is a chance that the best version of those decks might include Zabu, because you have enough of these 10 power 4-drops you might want to get onto the field.
So I always go, when I think of Zabu, right, I do like Zabu, but then I always think about Psylocke. Because when I think about especially these 10 power decks, I'm like, well, when you're thinking about kind of how they work here, my keyboard died. That's awesome. When you think about how these work, it's like, well, I almost would just like Psylocke anyway, because let's say you have She-Hulk in there and you do the She-Hulk thing, or if you want to go with, trying to play the 6 out early. Yeah, I get it. If you play her on 2, you can't play him on 3. So I guess you have, a little bit of that messing with you. But to me personally, I think Psylocke could be a play in a lot of these decks because she synergizes a bit better with them and one other card I haven't talked about.
Yeah, because you could play Psylocke with Surtur on turn 5, right? And then that would give you the opportunity. No, you're still short, right? Because you would need 8 energy to play 2 4-drops. Like if you're trying to play like a Tuma in Crossbones or Cull Obsidian in Crossbones, those are like the kind of cards I'm thinking about. Zabu, provided that they're both hit into the deck. But I mean, even if if you have one in your hand, you're still operating on 7 power because you have to draw into it. So maybe it's a lot trickier, the lines, than I originally had expected. But my original designs, I had Zabu, then I cut him because I was like, I just don't think it works. You'd probably be better off running a 10 power 6-drop. You know what I mean? Like an Alliance or a Magneto, you get the +3 on that end. And then technically a Magneto is a 6/15 because you're getting +3 there, disrupting the board and stuff, right?
So I would have a Psylocke in, let's say, like the She-Hulk deck because of, again, having that extra energy, you could float early. Or the other card, I'm like, what else would I want to play early? And what else do I think works here in general? The last kind of synergy that I have with this guy. And that's going to be Gwenpool. It's like, okay, so when they come out, they've got to be 10 power. Well, there's not, I was like, you can't do Blue Marvel, you can't do any of that, but Gwenpool is the only card that if you play down, you get your cards above that rate, and all of a sudden you're able to play, let's say, a Sasquatch deck, and it's like, oh, okay. That Mockingbird that's a 9 goes up past 10 power now at this point. Play that down, and you're able to cheat these out. So Gwenpool would be the only other one that I think has a little bit of salt and pepper to a different mix, if you will, and it could add some value to him as well.
Gwenpool's been one of those cards that, like, on first glance, you're like, nah, it probably doesn't fit in this deck. And then you play it and you're like, damn, Gwenpool actually helps a lot here. Yeah. And it might be the thing to tip things over, like the edge, getting over that 10 power. But at the same time, it's hard because, like, you're playing Gwenpool on 4, but, like, you could be playing Cull Obsidian. You could be playing, you just could be hitting the effect. You know what I mean? And so I guess you got to trade that. If you're playing a Magic style deck, but then if you're playing Magic, like when's Surtur coming out? Like you play Magic on 3, Surtur has to come out eventually. Then turn 4, you play the Gwenpool. Then maybe turn 5, then it's like the Psylocke Surtur play. And then you're going into those next turns, just pumping the 10 powers down. Yeah,
because to me, I think 3/11 is a goal, right? Like 3/8's really nice, really nice. And then 3/11, dude, it's like you're happy. So like, yeah, if you don't play them on 3 in the limbo decks, you should definitely at that point be able to at least play She-Hulk plus card, right? So there you go. Yeah. That's 3/11. That's my eyes on it. But yeah, I think that might be a route that I start with, though, is this Psylocke, Gwenpool, limbo deck where you got 3 cards in there and you're like, what are you trying to do? And it's like, well, can you make that work where it's a little bit different? That's going to be my ultimate goal with this card. Very limited, very narrow, but I think most people we've seen in the past, Red Hulk and friends, they like big power. They like playing big power decks. So it is not an archetype. It's just big power. And if you like that, you're going to like the Season Pass card.
You know what absolutely upsets me, though, about this card? It pisses me off so much, and I can't wrap my head around solving this problem, Cozy, and I hope you can.
The Unibrow?
No, I think the Unibrow is awesome, honestly. Okay. I'm a Unibrow aficionado. Like, I would love a thick-ass Unibrow like that. But what actually upsets me is I don't think I can make this work in Surfer. I actually don't think I can. This might be the only 3 cost that is, as try as I might, I can huff shipping containers worth of copium. And I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can make this work in a Surfer deck, dude.
Let's, you go Gwenpool and you have a Gladiator that you hit Gladiator and Shaw, and you can play Shaw and Gladiator and get them up.
Okay, I'm sold. Done. This is now a Surfer card.
I was like, I got to give you something. I got to give you something to beat your head against the desk on stream, and you're like, I'm gonna make it work. It's Surfer, let's do it. But honestly, as I was spitting that out, I'm like, but maybe. But
maybe. So you're telling me there's a chance.
You're saying there's a chance, as the good old Jim Carrey says. Now, listen, buddy, we're gonna go from this card to our first card coming out alongside him, and that is Frigga. Now, guys, she's a 3/3 as of what we know right now of the card. On reveal, add a copy of the last card you played to your hand, if able, Alex. And I know we've talked about her. We looked at the data mines long ago. But what do we feel about her right now, man? What do you feel about Frigga? Give me a star.
This has been a weird one for me. I'm going 3 stars on Frigga, simply because I think that this is a cool effect, and it kind of reminds me of cloning vats. And like, do you know when you get a cloning vats game, and you're like, oh hell yeah, I like cloning vats games. You got certain cards that really pop off on it. You're like, oh, I got like Wolfsbane. I don't know if you're playing Wolfsbane in a Frigga deck, but I'm just saying if that is in your deck, and then you're able to play Wolfsbane on 3, and on Frigga you play something else, and then the Frigga then something else, I should say, because you want to copy the Wolfsbane. If it works the way I expect it to, you should be copying the power back. No,
you definitely. I think you will copy that power back. Here's my. Oh, I think I'm going to give her a 2. And it sucks because for me, I really think this is such a fun and interesting card. And I'll be honest, it's like one of my most anticipated ones to mess with, to play with. I have a lot of different designs because I think there's a lot of crazy things you can do with cloning. Number 1, if it was add a copy of the next card you played, would be way better because you could curve her out much better. Her power to cost ratio is garbage. It's just terrible. Don't really like what they did there with the 3/3 stat line. Because what I was doing is, as I was kind of putting all these combos together, I was like, man, Frigga's cool, but she curves out really badly, like when you're trying to play her. Now, it's going to be the case of some cards, let's say Anti-Venom, which is probably going to be one of the cards that really synergize with her. But it's like, where it just didn't curve out great. I kind of feel the same way here. You're going to have things that pop off. Awesome. I can't believe I copied that. And then there's going to be things that kind of fall a bit flat. The thing is though with her is if they ever adjusted her in any way, I then love the card, right? 3/4, I'm much more interested. 2 costs, I'll lose my mind. I don't think they could do 2 costs. I think 2 costs sets her up so much better for success. Like, Alex, would you want a 2/1 Frigga?
It's a good question. I think I'd take a 2/1 Frigga, yeah. 2/2.
I just think you could set it up easier. Okay.
Yeah, because like, you know what's funny? I was thinking about like which cards really benefit from this, and a lot of them happen to be 3 costed.
Yep.
And like, you think about like Cassandra Nova, right? Would love this. Would absolutely love this. You could play Cassandra Nova 3, Frigga Iceman. Boom. Everything's awful for them.
And that's where I'm like, man, will I and everyone else who, I've seen a lot of negativity on this card look like fools because does she give that much viability to Surfer decks, right? Like, you think about it, this is a Surfer card through and through, in my opinion. Like, why would it not be? And I think this and the common theme of this season, if you will, you get a lot of synergy with her son Thor. Thor is definitely, this is something that they're trying to do with this season. Thor and the hammers, Alex, easily is one of the best lines you can get. And our friend Beta Ray Bill. Those are going to be the 2, I think, cards that kind of work well. But Surfer in general, most of those, I'm not mad if I get a copy of said card. And it works better because of the way that the deck works out.
The tricky thing for Frigga, and the reason why I'm a somewhat enthusiastic, like 3-star, and I actually like your 2-star rating better, to be honest. I'll stick to 3, but I absolutely agree with the 2-star rating, is that at 3 cost, you're committing a turn. And you need to copy the card to the hand, so she can't be played on 6. She has to be played on 3, 4, or 5. And because of that, and the fact that you have to commit the energy to play the copied card, it makes her much more narrow than I think people would expect. Or actually, it's exactly what people expect. It's narrow. That's why there's some negativity around it. She doesn't seem very versatile at all. Whereas, like, if you compare her to something like a Copycat, you can play Copycat whenever you want, man. Like, it's like this card's I can play whenever, and Frigga's not like that.
Exactly. It's that you'd have to Quinjet and maybe Arishem because you have so much energy, but like you'd have to Quinjet to get the benefit there. And even if it was like, and it cost 1 less, like give us something there. Give us something because you played something down really cool. Okay, well then you have to, you have to waste a whole turn playing that again. And like the only thing I saw that working was, again, the hammers because they're free. That works out really well. It curves out great. Obviously, that's going to work with some of the other cards that we talk about. But then also, when I thought about cloning vats, to your point, like, what am I just like, I'm going to win if I get this? It's Destroy and Venom stuff. But again, like, why am I putting Frigga and Destroy builds? Sounds like copium to me.
I don't think it is though. And you've touched on a couple cards that like I think really could go well. Like Venom does work well, but the trick, like you play Venom on 3, but then like Venom isn't usually played on 3. Like, you know what I mean? But with Frigga, it actually negates that downside. So if you have like a Deadpool and a Wolverine and a Lane and you play Venom, right? And you're like, oh, well, that wasn't great. But then you get to play, Frigga and Deadpool again. And then you can Venom that. And then you just absorb all that power, right? So, like, I think that sometimes, like, you'd rather, on turn 3, you'd rather play Deathlock. You'd rather play Deadpool Carnage. Like, and then Frigga kind of smooths that out. The only concern I have is, like, we joke about all the time, like, Destroy, like, that's 12 cards. It's so hard to penetrate that list.
I think it'd be a different list. Hear me out. I think things like, and okay, all right, just things like Dawkin is the one that I'm like, okay, you get 2 of those. Fantastic.
There
right?
it is, Dawkin.
Dawkin, I had to say it, but also kind of makes sense, right? Things like Dawkin, things like, hey, maybe Surtur, right? Because it's like you play him down, okay, you can maybe get a couple of those engines going, and in Destroy, it's like, all right, big Venom, big Death. We might have to reimagine a bit of how this build is going to go, but I think that there is a world where we could get something going. Now, again, Venom is not a 10, so it's not going to work out that way, but there are things that activate him. I don't want to be a skeptic. I do think Destroy, Surfer, and Thor are going to be the builds that you see come out. But what I love about the card, Alex, is that with like the fun decks, Mr. Negative, Pixie, right? You've got some really cool decks that are crazy, and this gives you that little bit of extra boost to it. And I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but yeah, let's take a second. Pixie, Mr. Negative, and Anti-Venom. I love that.
No, you're actually right. Pixie was on my list of cards that I think could work 100% with this card, because like your opponent can't really figure out. First of all, it works on curve. Secondly, your opponent like cannot really determine like what happens after a Pixie play. So you get a lot of snap equity there. And when you get like a one-costed, I don't know, Red Hulk, and then you play it and then you Frigga it, your opponent's just like, GG's, like it's done. So like I can't do anything, right? Mr. Negative, I think, is a much more deliberate line, because like you would basically play Negative on 3 or 4, and then you would play one of your, like you'd play like an inverted Iron Man and then copy it right off the bat. So like I think your hand has to be a little more perfect, but that's like Mr. Negative right there. Like that's just,
I would say if you pull him on 3, or you could play him on 3 with like Psylocke or whatever, she's amazing. If you can't play him on 3, she's tougher because you have to hope on the top deck, right? So like you would have, let's say, Frigga in hand, you play him down, you have to be like, okay, I hope I get Null, and then you're playing that Null right away. You play in Frigga, you get the copy, and then you get another top deck. So I do think there's stuff there. Pixie, to me, it's already such a roll of the dice that I like that a bit better. And same as Anti-Venom. I think Anti-Venom goes up a star. We'll talk about him on your side. Obviously disappointed a little bit. But like I think he goes up a little bit here, because getting 2 of those zeros is crazy. But then remember, you've got to draw her. You've got to have things play out the right way. It isn't always going to be the way that it works out. But I think I do like her best in these kind of fun, crazy cheat decks.
yeah, no, like I think Anti-Venom's a good call, and I think it actually does improve it quite a bit. There is a card I want to talk about quick.
I got one more too. Which one?
Okay, so I want to just give a little bit of a shout out to Ravonna, and hear me out on this.
Okay.
With Ravonna, I think that she synergizes with a lot of cards that wouldn't mind getting Frigga'd. Cassandra Nova, Wolfsbane, Sage, right? Relatively on curve. And because of the cost reduction, you could seek them out on turn 5 and then Frigga them. And then basically you can have Sage going into turn 6 that's jacked. You know what I mean? And so like I think there could be potential lines there where Ravonna and Frigga could work together, because a lot of the cards that I think that you would want to Frigga that aren't like the complete crazy pop-off Anti-Venom ones, like much more reliable, consistent ones, are Ravonna cards.
So yeah, I actually like that point a lot. And I was trying to think of that, like what are the I mean, we've talked about Surfer, we talked about Thor, but what are some just like kind of more humble plays that you can do that she works out? And I do have 2 cards to talk about that I damn near, I want to be like, hey, is she like a 5-star in this build? Are we just missing this? Like, and I want to bring this up because this is a card. I gave it a 2, guys, but this is a card that we, the community, could miss on. I mean, with the deck builds, I think people are thinking very narrow. I was just thinking about it, bud. Remember the Kitty Pryde Shuri decks? I was like, well, Kitty Pryde's the only card in the game that you can play down again. You can play, and it's a 1. So it works out at any point in time. So if you were to build this card up with Hulkbusters and Nikos and whatever, in that build that we used to all play all the time, I've seen no one talk about this. I was like, you get 2 kitties. Comes back to you. I mean, this seems like a no-brainer, and I've not seen anything on this. Are we missing this?
I missed it. I didn't think of it. I didn't think of that at all. On turn 4, you can play. You don't even need. Yeah, turn 4, you'd have to play her down and then basically pick up the kitty, and then you just continue like double kitty. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that traditional Shuri deck though ran a Taskmaster of 5 to copy the kitty, so you can't do that finisher.
No, can't do that. But I don't think you need to necessarily, or even like I think that we have other methods now to make it work. I mean, hell, you could even do Agony. Like we have Agony now that can kind of work with that deck that we didn't have before. I'm calling it Cozy Kitty, and if you see it anywhere, it was copyrighted here first, trademarked. I haven't done it before, but I'm doing it signed, sealed, delivered. But yeah, I thought Kitty and the way that bounce decks work too. I'm like, hey, there's just a lot of cards in there that like if I got Sable back, hell yeah. If I got, you got the dude, you get the freaking Agent Venom getting this right to a 1/4. Sign me up. Your Frigga's a 3/4 at that as well. Like, I think we're missing that, and I haven't seen it, so I wanted to bring that up. Other cards at a quick shout, man. Jeff, U.S. Agent, Scream, Madam Web. Those are all 2-cost cards that I do not mind having another by playing Frigga on curve. Just thinking about that, we're trying to do all this fancy stuff, and I'm like, okay, first of all, I don't know if you've ever had a game where you got a couple Screams on the board. Scream goes bananas. Absolute bananas if you get 2 of them because they both steal each turn. Steal. So you're taking that power. Love Scream in the Steel deck. U.S. Agent, 2 of those in the right game plan. Beautiful. Beautiful 2-cost. Madam Web, a little more cheeky. Not going to see it as much, but I kind of like the idea of ping-pong in there. And then Jeff is Jeff, right? Like a couple Jeffs right on curve there. You're not mad about it. So, hey, maybe you play the Jeff, Frigga, Kitty Prep. That's where I see her working the most.
I absolutely can. Like those little mover style decks where like you might actually drop a massive Human Torch and then just copy it, right? And then on your turn 6, you might be able to do like Iron Fist, Aranya, boom, 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 and all of a sudden it's just GG's for your opponent, right? And I can definitely see that working.
As someone who gave her a 2, I'm someone that is also saying she could be way better than that. We'll have to see. So we've got Thor, we've got Sage, we've got the negative pixie stuff, Surfer, all the good stuff. Destroy. We'll have to a lot of testing to be done with Frigga. Way less of that than Surtur. Next up, we've got Malekith, a 4/6 Alex coming after Frigga. On reveal, add a 1, a 2, or a 3-cost card from your deck here, but don't reveal it until the game ends. And Alex, I'm going to give you a little bit of an out, and I'm going to give you the chance to say 2 ratings, okay? Because I think this is how we talk about this card. I've looked into it. I cannot find it.
I know what you're going to say because I couldn't find it either.
100% because it's not out there yet. I scrubbed the trailer. We don't know if you can see the card that he plays down. My understanding is you should be able to with how Snap works and how you I don't know if you've ever had there's instances, right, where like let's just use Dark Dimension. You can click that, see your card. So can I see what card it brought down? Because that's such a big difference, my friend, in how this is. So if you can see it, what's your rating? If you can't see it, what's your rating?
I think either way, I'm leaning in like the 2-star range. I could see it reaching to 3 because you are adding just straight up value. I'm in that range. If I could go 2.5, I would. I can see it being 3-star. Like I don't know, man. I'm like so torn about this particular card.
Yeah. And
I don't know if it makes a difference. I actually read the text to think that it will not show you. Yeah. I don't think it's supposed to. I actually read the text as you don't know what it is. And I think that's kind of fascinating, but it definitely takes power off it for the player who's playing it. I don't know, man. I literally have on my notes 3-star/2 stars because even to this moment I was undecided.
So I'm as high as a 4.5 if you can see it. I'm a 3 if you can't. I think this is one of the best cards.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's a deck thinner, and that's just crazy to me. We don't have a lot of deck thinning capabilities in the game. We don't have a lot of cards that can deck thin, and so I feel like in general, it will fall way more flat if I can't see what I'm doing here. And it may be too cute, if you know what I mean. Like, it may just be something that you don't end up. But, man, I'm just going through the cards. I'm going through the different setups that you can do, the flexible plays you can do. The guy's going to be minimum of 4.9, 4. You can go up to like a 4.11 if you want to. That's got a lot of obviously good capabilities. Now, there's not a ton of cards that you want to be played at the end, but there are some that are just really strong and surprising. And so if I can see what those are, you've got yourself a damn good card. If you can, you have yourself a pretty cool card, pretty unique card at that. He's very different than someone like Baron in my eyes.
I've been talking myself in and out of a 3-star rating here, which I know is still like middling overall. But like for me, the major question is, okay, yes, he's deck thinning, but at best you play him on turn 3 with Zabu, right? And you deck thin 1 card, which is still useful. But like if you think about what traditional deck thinning was, like that Chavez, you deck thinned 5 turns off the hop, non-draw centric. Like you just deck thinned, man. Without Zabu, you play him on 4, you essentially deck thin 2 turns, which is not nothing. I agree. And I think that you're like targeting cards that really want to be there, right? Like you're targeting cards like Martyr, right? Maximus, like big bodies that like are going to be good bodies to have down that'll put up lots of power with like disadvantages that get mitigated by the fact that it gets revealed by the game ending. But like, I don't know, man. I wasn't sold on it, and I'm okay to be wrong on this, and I'm glad that we're actually very wide here.
That's good.
And so like I like when that happens, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be fun if we didn't? Yeah, I think this is the misery of last season, right? I think I personally, if you're using PC too, does a deck tracker show you? I don't think they're going to be able to uncode that. So like I think there's going to be ways. I don't know, but the way you design your decks, yeah, it's only 2 turns, but you only have so many cards left over when the game ends, bro. And so if you do this right, you're able to thin out to get a much better chance to finish off what you're trying to do here. Plus, there are cards like Shadow King. That's super cool to have hidden down on that 1 lane. You thinned out your deck, you got to play him for free, and then you have him there. You have things like Killmonger to counter bounce. Beautiful. There goes Invisible Woman, right? Wolfsbane. Talk about her all the time. Just profit. Like, you can build your deck around it where it's a card that you wanted, right? A card that you want out there. Another example for you, buddy. How about an Ajax Hazmat deck? You have Hazmat as a bomb at the end. That's exactly what you want to do with the card, and you don't have to spend that energy. So I think there are some very cool designs here. Sage, Patriot. There are some cool things that you can do that you thin the deck. You get the free play on the card. It's a 4/6. I'm excited for him.
It's definitely better in those types of decks if you can see the card. Like if you can see that it's Hazmat, that is a totally different situation as if you can't, right? Like that's the major thing. What about, okay, this might piss some people off, but what about Hela? Because if you think about it, right? If you're playing like a Hela Modok style deck, Malekith on turn 4, and it pulls Luke Cage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so Luke is definitely one that you could pull. That's great. And you're not really playing a ton. Like, and then if you, like, let's say if you don't get Luke Cage, okay, so you could be looking at, you know, maybe a Lady Sif, okay? Morbius. Yeah, well, Morbius is fantastic because he's one of the few I have on here where, like, you don't need to play him out at any time. He just comes already, right? So he would be a great option. So you have Morbius, but then even like Lady Sif, oh no, I have a 3/5 played for free. That's a 4/11 now. To me, I don't know. I think that you're going to be able to see what you've drawn, what you have left in the deck. You could narrow down for the most part. Your decks are going to have to be way thicker, if you will. But I think that this guy is going to have a lot of strategicness added to the game.
And I can see it too, right? Like being at like the 3-star range, I'm kind of uncomfortable with it. I can see it reaching to where you're at. I just think that like the 4/6 stat line is not great. The questions around whether or not we see what it reveals really does put a damper on. And I bet you by the time we actually do like the dedicated week for Malekith, Glenn will answer that question because everyone's going to have that question, right? So we'll know going into his particular week. But yeah, this is a weird one, man. And it makes sense why they want to like they want to kind of keep tabs on like what deck thinning looks like in Marvel Snap. They don't want the Chavez, so they want to give it like, okay, Malekith does it a little bit. It's like a benefit to Malekith's effect. It's like a Baron Zemo that deck thins essentially for yourself.
I'm just trying to think though too, the tech right now doesn't exist to not see your own cards. There's no scenario where you can't see your own cards, only the opponent. So it would have to code it as an opponent's, like, you know what I mean? Like no matter what right now in Marvel Snap, that doesn't exist. That's why it leans, the way it reads means that you can't see it. The way that the game is coded makes me think you can see it. Either way, I think it's just a different build around. He goes down a little bit, but he's still a very, I think, going to be a competitive card of the game. And he comes with Thena, Valentina. That's fun. That rhymes a little bit, but that comes later on. But yeah, we'll have to talk about it more. I mean, things like Quake too. I don't know. I was going through a couple things and I'm like, man, having this come out at the end, like a Quake that switches the location, bar with no name, you're in shambles. I don't know. I think it's a fun thing. All right, after Malekith, buddy, we have Fenris Wolf. And this is, man, between this and Frigga, I love the cards this month. Just cool cards. 2-3. We got an activate, people. We got an activate. We got a new activate finally. Activate. Resurrect your opponent's highest power discarded or destroyed card to your side of this location. Obviously, bad turn 6 card. It's a fun design. What do you like? What are you giving this?
I'm in the 4-star range, but I can see this being like the most broken card of the month. Like I can see this being absolutely stupid. I shouldn't say that. I think Surtur is always better than this, to be honest with you. No, I don't even think that. I think this has a much wider range than Surtur does. I think Surtur is just straight up like better in terms of like the decks it's gonna be in. But this here, I think it's dirty. Like I think it's really dirty, especially with Shang-Chi. That's why I was saying before, like, does Shang-Chi remain as it is with this coming out too? Like this is, dude, the whole month is around 10 power cards. You have this, and then you have Shangers just like being what it is, a 4/3 that just basically wins a location. I don't know, man. It's a lot. People are going to be tilted out of their minds.
I'm seeing a lot of low ratings on this card, which I tend to. I gave it a 3. So I gave it a 3-ish, a 3-ish. But I don't disagree with what your understanding of it is. So activate is a knock against it as far as the whole 6 thing, right? Like obviously we know that. But my God, the deck builds here make me want to give it higher ratings. I have to see how this plays out. So
I would argue that activate makes it better.
It does. Well, yes, absolutely. It does. I'm saying in general, it having activate means it's dead on 6, right? So like,
yeah,
you just have that. So I don't like that. But other than that, I'm like, damn, let's start to think here a little bit. Like you just said. So if you Shang-Chi a lane, first of all, 2, you got Shang on 2, him on 4, so you could play him on, turn 5, play Shang-Chi the next turn. They're not designed to be played the same way. However, okay, so the Shang-Chi would win the lane that you Shang-Chi'd, and then I'm like, oh my God. And then it resurrects. It comes to your side to win the other lane. Like that flip is insane. Like we could be honest there. I think that is why you gave it such a high rating and why I agree with you. Like why I think for sure that that's great. But on top of that, I just love what this does for Black Bolt, for Silver Samurai. How cool is that to be able to chop one of your enemy's cards off and then you take it over to your side? It's killer. It's so fun. It's such a good design card. I love it. I don't know how it's going to be in application. That's why I'm kind of ho-humming on it at a 3.5. But I think people are low on it, and they're not. This is going to be a huge counter to all the big power Arnold Schwarzenegger stuff at the beginning of the season.
I see no situation where this card is so good in my opinion. Like it actually surprises me to hear that people are down on it. It's like, dude, you Shang-Chi a Monster Island. You know what I mean? Like, and the fact that it's activate allows you on turn 6 or whenever you play your Shang-Chi, you can just activate this at the very end of the game in your turn order. And then like, oh, Shang-Chi first, then activate to make sure you're kind of cleaning up the biggest power card. And like, what about Gladiator? Right? Like Gladiator, like what if you like forge Gladiator and you like actually high reach there? And like you mentioned like Black Bolt and stuff like that. I like those, but they're also, they tend to hit like these smaller cards sometimes, right? And so like, it's almost similar to Yondu. You could consider doing something with Yondu, but like the ceiling is kind of lower, right?
I wish Yondu was the old way. Like
I know,
a random,
man, it would have been so much better.
Can you imagine like a turn anything, like random casino play? Yeah, Gladiator's a great point. I love the idea of like like Negasonic YOLO play, activate same turn, and you're just like on turn 6, you're like, let's go. Like, I just think there's a lot of cool potential with this card. You listen, 3.5. I'm a bit lower because I gave high ranks at Malekith. I got another high rank coming up. But I can see this being one that's just like, what are we doing? Why is this not ranked higher? I think he's a lot of fun with a lot of potential. Have to see how it plays out. But even like Killmonger, man, just Killmonger something. It's so easy to do. Talk about like their bounce card. They got their Sable up to 1/8. It's like, hey, cool, man, and then you kill it.
And we're not even sure if like what happens to Apocalypse, right? Like, does it count as discarded? Probably not, because it re-enters their hand, right? And So that's one thing. The other thing that we're not really sure of is whether or not the card will reproc its on reveal. So if it's an on reveal card, if it gets brought back using Fenris Wolf, does it redo its on reveal? Because that would add additional value.
I think so, because Hela does the same. My thought is restrict your opponent's highest power discarded thing. What I'm wondering is if they're playing Hela and you put this out, and you just scope their infinite, right? Like, do you take it from their pile, right? So do you just
yeah, I
would
imagine you would, yeah.
You just take their infinite from them. I think that's kind of cool. I think this is a really well done card to tech against that.
No, for sure it is. I like this a lot. I'm very happy with like a 4-star rating here, and I would be surprised if it's lower than that, to be honest with you. Especially at a 2-3 cost. Like that's a solid body. And it's synergized with like literally what's going to be the most annoying card of the month in Shangers.
What about like Moon Knight too? You play this down, you Moon Knight. You hope you hit a 6.
Sick.
You hope you hit a 6.
Moon Knight's so good here, man. Moon Knight is unreal.
It is cool. Just as I feel like I was convincing you more in the Malekith talk. It's like, damn, I am seeing more as I talk about it. And when we talk about the individual ranking, I'm probably just going to give this such a better start. We'll have to see. All right, so Fenris Wolf, not so much to talk about just because it is a bit narrow, but I think there's a lot. Lady Deathstrike, by the way, don't see you're probably not going to do that one as much. But it's like, oh, gee, you can take their Luke Cage and put it to your side. Like there are some cool things that you can do with it. Keep in mind it is on your side of the location that Fenris is on, right? Next up, Gorr the God Butcher. Gorr the God Butcher. Ongoing. +2 power for each on reveal card in play. It's a 6 cost, -1 power card. Alex, what do you give it?
Dude, this has been another one where like I've been a little all over the place. I originally wrote 3, and then I kind of started talking myself up to 4. I'm not sure. I think this is one of those cards that like I want to really take a deep dive into on the week that it's coming out, because now we're almost like a month away at this point. And the way the meta is shaping up, the amount of on reveals being played, I think that's going to impact that. Now, you lose agency with this particular card because like now you're depending on your opponent to do specific things in order to like get to the highest ranges. But like it scales very rapidly. I don't know, man. In one way, I can see this being like the new default big chonky boy that you drop, but the other side of it, like I can see this really underperforming.
Yeah, that's fair. I personally think this is probably the second best card of the month. Personally.
Wow. See,
yeah,
I'm far off that. I'm leaning more 3-star. Like I think it's good, but I don't think it's great.
Yeah. So Gorr for me, I think is the next Blob, the next Red Hulk. His numbers, if you start to do the math, the fact that it calculates your opponent's side too, and when you really start to look at on reveals, they are everywhere, every deck. Bounce decks are they're done. The power that you'll be able to get to with this guy is insane. I think it's very high scaling. I was too, to be fair, when I read it, I was like, he's okay. And then I was like kind of doing the math, and I'm like, he just seems really good. And he's ongoing. So incredible. I think this guy is going to work. And here's the thing. I love that you can synergize with it, but he's also a defensive card, right? So like against balance, he's going to slap. The Thor brothers are screwed, right? You got the Frigga double hammer stuff. Great. But also you do the double hammer stuff on your side. Bam. He's also going to be great too. Insane and negative. Frigga, Gorr decks, who knows? But like you get a couple of these guys out, I don't know. But he's great in negative. That's the obvious. Negative has on reveal cards. We know that. Opponents are going to have at least a couple, 3, 4. I mean, it goes way up from there. Just that you can handle it on your side and make sure that he has good stat value. And then you combine that with the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards your opponent is playing with on reveals. I think this guy has the potential to be one of the biggest cards in the game.
And I agree, and that's the thing, right? Like, does it take the job of the Red Hulk, the Blob, right? Like, is that what it does? And I don't know, man. I've been kind of a little hesitant on this particular card because while it scales very well, and even if like your opponent has no cards on the board, it still gets big if you play your play style. You know what I mean? If you're leaning into the on reveals, then it does get big. And the fact that it's an ongoing is huge as well.
Yep.
Because like you could even ramp it out, right? Like you could ramp it out, and then you could do something like an Odin Doc Doom. But even though the bots don't necessarily benefit it or whatever, like then again, but like that kind of deck, you're not having that many on reveals out there. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying that like
you could do ramp out with Psylocke or Hope Summers in that case, and then you could Mystique the damn thing, right? And obviously that's such a weird freaking deck. We'd have to build that out. But there are some cool things that you can do with this in general, and not to mention the most basic. And this card's so stupid good, is Agent Venom. You just Agent Venom this, it goes up to a 4 power out the bat. Or you Bast it, goes to 3 power. I mean, that alone in a bounce build, that you're supplying more power to it. So now all of a sudden you have these bounce decks that are going crazy high. You're able to do stupid stuff with Toxin and friends. And then you're able to all of a sudden now have a slam finish. Dude, I think this thing is great defense. It's good offense. Number 2, probably it could be the best in terms of variety tagged onto it.
Yeah, because the Ancient Venom decks, they're all running tons of on reveals. Of on reveals. This is also a massive buff to Emperor Hulkling for what it's worth, right? Imagine Emperor Hulkling with the Gorr effect.
Yeah, that is. Every 6 cost that comes out is such a big buff. That's a good shout out. So yeah, man, Gorr to me, I'm excited. And they're throwing on Havoc Legion. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're telling us that he could be really good. And then not to mention, like, Negative has needed a new toy, and I'm excited. Also, like, the Thor brothers now have Frigga. They've got Gorr, and then it's like, hey, hold on. There's one more card they have, and that is the
surprise card. Yeah,
the free card that we are getting this month for Deadpool's Diner 2, King Eitri. Is it Eitri?
Bro, I have no idea how to read any of these names. I'm not even sure if I'm saying Surtur correctly.
It's Peter Dinklage on that one movie. I don't know. He's the guy that makes the Stormbreaker.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yeah, that's him. He's like the Master Smith. He's the Master Weaponsmith in Marvel lore.
Oh man, at Nidavellir. That's where they do the star thing, and Thor's like, nah, and he's yelling as he does the thing. Yeah, and then because he's like, yes. Because Thor's like, oh, I might die, and he's like, yes, that's what killing you does, and like that's the line in the movie. That's when like the baby Groot cuts his arm and everything. The Stormbreaker. Yep. Yes, so I know exactly who this is now.
King Eitri. Yep. I think the guy. Well, I guess we should tell the audio listeners what he does. He's a 1-cost, 2-power card. Activate. Oh, 2 in a month. Activate. Draw a card from your deck. Typo there on my end. That didn't start there. So this is a Thor card.
Yeah, basically, it's a backup play for Lady Jane Foster style decks. I think it's kind of cool.
I like
it. Does get destroyed by the Korg Rock Slide combo though.
Oh, dude, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, what I will say this, my friend. I think that Thor decks. Am I alone in thinking they're just so fun to play? Like Thor decks are so fun to play, but they're so one-dimensional. And now this card gives it a different playline. Love that it's on 1. Love that it's an activate card. And you're not, man, Thor and Beta go way up here. But star rating, what do you give it?
Star rating, I'm like in the 3.5, 4 range.
Whoa!
No, listen, I said 3.5. I'm leaning more like 3.5 and 4.
I'm like a 1.5 to 2.
No way, you're 1.5, dude. Think about what you can do. You play him on 1, you play Thor on 3. It goes into the deck, you activate. So like it literally just comes back to your hand in turn 4.
It's sick. No, it's sick. That line is sick. Don't get me wrong. I just like there isn't a crazy amount past that, right? So like
no, of course not. It's super niche.
Yeah. So obviously he's super awesome in those decks. I just don't see, and we get it for free, by the way. I think like by playing Deadpool's Diner. Yeah. So like sign me up. Maybe I'll lean out of 2 in application flexibility. I can't give it much, but what Thor and Beta will do is awesome. And I don't know about you, but like I don't know, playing Jane on 5 every time, it just felt. I don't know, but I do like that now that you can even combo Odin that much easier. And now if you read the text here, you just draw 1 card. I kind of wish. I don't know. I kind of wish it was like an on reveal, kind of. I know the activate thing's nice because you could play him down, but I'm like, well, damn, if he was an on reveal, then you could even like chain it off a little bit or do something like that. But the activate, he works in the regard that he works in very well. He does the thing, and I think that's cool.
He could potentially be good in Lockjaw too.
Yep.
because you bring the card right away, you play it back in a lockjaw, generate some like momentum there. But like this is where the activate being only activated once kind of hurts. Like cards like Aranya, this here, like at one cost, like it's like you could almost bounce them and do something. You know what I mean? And I don't know if you ever would. I'm just saying that like at one cost, you kind of feel it there.
But I will say this. First of all, Airsham, but also, hold on. Thanos. I think Thanos, this might be a really good Thanos card. Activate, draw a card. You are effectively just drawing a stone. So, like, yeah, you got to wait a turn, but have you ever been in the situation where you've got Thanos ready to go 20 power, but you can't get that 20 because you got that card that's just sitting somewhere in the deck? Kind of cool that this kind of works with that.
Oh yeah, every time I play Thanos, the stones just don't exist. I don't know why I don't even draw. My opponent snaps turn 1, plays Mind Stone. I'm like, cool, bro, and then like I'm just crying. Oh. Yeah, it's kind of sad. Also, very good in Loki, like very actual Loki. Like
cracked in Loki.
Could you potentially consider this being a Loki deck outside of Airsham? Like that,
Loki
I don't think it's that good.
This is a Loki staple for sure. Moving forward.
Because it's the draw. It's like it's the draw engine that Loki needs. It's one card, yeah, sure, but.
It's a free card. It's a free card that you can play at a discounted rate. Yeah, so I think Loki, Airship, Thanos, those are the the ones that didn't start there or whatever. So you do have those. But we're gonna have to see. I think this is so much more fun than Agony. It's not a Cassandra Nova, but it's not an Agony. It's some I don't even know if it's somewhere in between, but it's a nice little card here.
Yeah, it's a good addition to the game. I'm glad this is the free one too, because I think that it's going to synergize with a card that pretty much everyone has in Thor. Beta Ray Bill might be a little more niche, but still, it's a good card to kind of include.
All right, let's rank them all in order as we always do. Alex, let's start. Do we want to start from the bottom and towards the top in the rankings? Number 1 or the last one?
I'll let you pick. I always forget we do this, so I'm not prepared for this part. But
because I'm going to forget, let's start at number 1. Number 1 best card of the month is
Surtur.
I think so. I think he's narrow in application. I'm going to say Gorr. I'm going to go with Gorr. I want to go with Gorr here. I think Gorr's going to be cracked.
Yeah, okay. Gorr, number 1. For number 2, I'm definitely leading Fenris Wolf.
I gave Surtur a 5 and Gorr a 4.5. That doesn't make sense, but I don't care. I'm just sticking with it. You did Fenris Wolf? Okay, so I did. I'll do Surtur for 2. Even though that doesn't make sense, but why not? Number 3.
Number 3, damn. This is where it gets weird for me because like I have cards, I have them all mixed up. I almost want to say King Eitri. I almost want to put him there. Wow. But I think it's high. Like I'm gonna go with King Eitri. Get a little spicy here, but I'm ready to be wrong.
The spice. I like spice in all my foods. Malekith for sure, who could even go higher. But I don't know. If you can't see it'll determine a little bit of what you can see, what you can't see, but I love that card.
Yeah, no, there's no question. And then from there, it'd definitely be Gorr from there. I think, you know what? I should be definitely switching Gorr and Eitri.
Okay.
Like, Eitri should be 4, Gorr should be 3.
Okay.
So I would go Gorr now. No, I would go Eitri. Oh my gosh. Not that this could be any more confusing. I should have said Gorr prior. This would be Eitri's spot. So
that's
Eitri
fine.
at 4.
Understandable. Fenris for me here. After that, I think he's got some cool plays.
Okay, cool. Then for me here, I would definitely go Frigga.
Yeah, Frigga and then Eitri for me. So you have Malekith last.
Yeah, I'm leading Malekith last.
You could be right.
And I'm ready to be wrong. Like, it's a weird card, and we don't have all the answers yet. You know what I mean? So, like, it changes. If you can see it, I think it changes a lot to the upside, but I have my questions. You know what I mean?
No, definitely fair. And listen, there's a lot of cards here. I mean, I don't think so, but Frigga could be absolutely bananas. Also, Frigga releases a different cost and power rate. Who knows? Let's go ahead now and lastly finish up, Alex. We ranked them all. We're going to now talk about the spotlights. And we do have, coming with Frigga, Red Guardian Copycat. This is the classic week where it's like they don't think the card's good, so they put really good cards. Both of these, you can't miss, man. You can't miss with those.
It's so funny thinking about like the meta of the spotlights and like how it relates to the card being released. This is a good week.
Yep.
Now, I'm still heartbroken at the Copycat change. I still have not played Copycat much since the change. But I think Red Guardian's honestly a slept-on card in Marvel Snap.
Malekith comes with Thena Valentina.
Weird one. Thena's a must-have in your collection, I think. And Valentina is hot garbage.
We've got... Thena's another good card to copy, by the way, on Curve with Frigga. That's actually stupid. with the freaking Kitty Pride deck. Oh my god. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Frigga could be one of the better cards this month, and people just don't see it. Including myself. Fenris is a Nihilist and Werewolf by Night.
I like it. Those are two cool cards worth having. I don't like Werewolf. I was even saying we had a Werewolf by Night deck doing pretty good in the meta. I was like, I don't want to play it, man. I'd rather play Hitmonkey deck. Like, I just don't want to play
stressful.
it. Like, I just don't care, man. I just don't care for it. But a Nihilist, which has fallen off, I still think is a definite must-have in your
card to add to your
collection. That
collection.
card has to be there.
Gorr's Havoc and Legion.
Weird one. That's so weird. Legion was just in the Spotlight caches too. Havoc is kind of sus. That tells me that like you know, it's bait. It's basically Spotlight key bait.
Gorr's gonna pop off is what that tells me. Yeah, so I think he's definitely more of the token route. So definitely interesting, man. Listen, all of these cards have something very interesting to offer. I mean, seriously, Surtur, Frigga, Malekith, Fenris, Gorr, all of them are gonna be cool. All of them are gonna be fun. I'm excited about that. I think the game needs it a little bit, so we'll have to see. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you guys for coming over to this side of the Snapchat on Alex's. We take a look back. We hold ourselves accountable to October in the final rankings, and I can tell you there was a lot of hits and misses on that. And then we have the best Series 5 cards, Snapchat mailbag. Go check it out. It's down in the link in the description. Love you guys. Have a good one. Have a great one. Good luck in the November season. Happy snapping.